Hello everybody and welcome to VFR. Today we welcome you to the beautiful island of Majuro in the Pacific Ocean, and we are going to be taking a quick leap across some blue water over to Kwajalein here in our PMDG 737. Should be a pretty good flight. We are going to be nominally on VATSIM, although in this part of the world there's not a whole heck of a lot going on. Let me file this flight plan anyway. And let's get started. Thank you all for coming along this evening. Hope you all are doing well. And yeah, hopefully we have a good fun flight, a warm-up flight. But it's going to be a shorter one today because I'm already tired from thinking about Cross the Pond. Where I did get a slot today in open season, but it's a long one. But we'll talk more about that as we get going. Get the last things up and let's hop into this airplane. We are here. I think it's probably worth taking a quick look around, see exactly where we are. So this is Majuro. It is a small airfield in the Pacific, about 5 hours from Hawaii. So if you were flying from Hawaii, you'd fly over the ocean for about 5 hours, and then you'd go up to this this strip of land here. It's basically all runway. It's, you know, they say this about LaGuardia and a couple other places, but it's about as close as you can get to landing a 737 on an aircraft carrier. You can see not a huge airport, not even really a big terminal. You've got a small area over here where we're kind of parked, and then you've got some maintenance facilities as well. But a common stop for the Trans-Pacific Island Hopper route run by, nowadays, United Airlines, but they inherited that from Continental. Continental actually had its own subsidiary that ran this operation. It started out, I just learned on Wikipedia 5 minutes before, started with a DC-6. So this is actually perfect DC-6 territory. However, we're flying 737 today. We might revisit it if it's worth it with the DC-6. But basically, Continental formed a subsidiary, Continental Micronesia, call sign Air Mike, which we're going to be flying today. Here from Majuro out to Kwajalein. Now, Kwajalein is actually an interesting destination too, because it's entirely, the Kwajalein Atoll is entirely a U.S. military base. The civilians who might be on this flight, you're not allowed to get off on. I don't think you're allowed to take video or pictures or either coming into Kwajalein. We will be able to because we're going into simulated Kwajalein. But that is officially Buckholtz Army Airfield out in the Pacific. But that's the basis only air connection to the mainland via a commercial aircraft. We then, the island hopper route then continues on to other places, such as Pohnpei, which I wanted to get in. But basically this route hops its way all the way to Guam. So let's establish where we are in the... let's establish where we are in the world first, before we get too far. Get Navigraph up. And I was gonna, well, you know, if I was more dedicated, I would fly from Hawaii to here on stream. But again, we're gonna get plenty of long haul action. It looks like soon. We want Navigraph if it'll do that. All right. So here we are in what looks like and is ocean. So if we zoom all the way out, here's the United States. Here's Europe over here. We have to scroll this way. Japan, China, Asia, Australia down here. We're kind of smack dab in the middle. So if you take the 5-6 hour flight to Hawaii, you take another 5 hour flight to Majuro, and then we're going to jump over to Kwajalein here. Now, I don't actually know where Pohnpei is, but what we're aiming for is essentially this leg here. From Majuro, Kwajalein, Pohnpei, a couple other stops along this way, and then we end up with Guam in the Marianas Islands. Famously of DCS. If you play DCS, it's the free map. We get to Guam. This is one of the commercial... this is... nowadays, again, run by United, commercial airline flight into Guam. And from Guam, you can get on all the way, the rest of the way to Asia. But that's where we are in the world. It's pretty remote. and should be good fun, but again, we are nominally on VATSIM. So thank you all for coming along. Hope you all are doing well. We're going to hop into this cockpit of our Continental 737, and we're going to get going. I should have aligned IRS already. But today we have not a full flight. We'll have a lighter flight. Window heat on, even though it's pretty warm out. Lights on. Get that going. Let's get a little bit more light on the main panel. And the lower panel. We'll get that sorted. Let me get my controls set up and tuned in. No, I didn't realize Continental originally dispatched a DC-6 out here. Otherwise, it would have planned to do that. But I don't know how long this is going to take. And this is going to be kind of a quicker flight. Just because there's going to be... didn't want to merge that. Going to be a lot of flying going on this weekend. And we'll talk more about some of the things we might be able to do this weekend. Okay. So that's set up. We're going on, we've got IRSs are aligning. We are on ground power. We're going to start our APU here in just a minute if we want. Let's just make sure we won't burn our airplane down. If you triple click the lights, they go full bright. Hey. Well, poor dude. Welcome aboard. You're coming in hot. You made my day right there. That's awesome. Can you do it the other way though? Oh yeah, if you do that. Hey. I didn't know that. Thank you. That's cool. That's a neat little feature. Well, poor dude. Starting off the day. Hi, how you doing? Welcome aboard. Okay. Awesome. That's cool. But what I was doing was starting the APU. Get all my lights configured and aligned with the hardware. If I was more dedicated, we would do a full turn here. But essentially, all we're doing right now is picking up as the relief crew. We're going to pick up where the main crew got us to. So usually there'd probably be 2 crews on board a 737 doing this run. Basically, they start in the morning in Honolulu, and they end up in the afternoon in Guam, and then I think they go back on it. I think they go back on another day, but I'm not sure about that. We're rocking 148 passengers, so we'll say that first class is mostly booked with 130 people, which I would be shocked, but never know. And we'll do 4.1 and 4 to get our 8,000 pounds of cargo. But essentially, we'd be mostly loaded at this point, coming from Honolulu. But in my head, we're the second crew, taking over the rest of the way, because the first crew flew the 5 hours to Honolulu, or from Honolulu. And it's a fun flight. I mean, if you're not looking for anything outside the window, it is good to do. It takes about 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours with time acceleration, so it's not terrible. And you do it in a regular, you don't need the BBJ or anything, you do it in a regular 7.3. So it's a worthwhile exercise if you have some time. We might do the full thing one of these days. But for now, I just want to start chipping away. 14,000 pounds of fuel. And that's good. All right, so let's get started here. FMC, pause in it. We are at Papa Kilo Mike Juliet. And we are going to Papa Kilo Whiskey Alpha, Kwajalein, Army, Buckholtz Army Air Base. Today we are Charlie Mike India, Air Mike 155, 737 outbound. And Navigraph saying 6, runway 6 at Majuro, runway 7 at Majuro. And looking at the windsock, that tracks. Looks like 11 knots down the line. So this is runway 25, and so we'll have to go down to that end, which is runway 7. Which we will take the good news. On departure, there's nothing really to hit, because we're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Not great if you're afraid of open spaces or open water or anything, but if you're not hung up on that, it's not too bad. And I think we got radar vectors direct Oreo. Technically, do they have a departure? They don't have any SIDS. So Oreo, Oscar Romeo, Echo Echo Oscar, and then direct to runway 6 at Kwajalein. And Kwajalein, we got an NDB for 6, and we've got an RNAV for 6. Well, we got to do the NDB then. I don't know that I've ever tuned an NDB in this airplane. So, I mean, we gotta. So we'll do the NDB, and we will do the Buchholz transition, November Delta Juliet. That'll be fine. Activate that route. It's little things like that that get me really excited too. Mopar, it just... I mean, that's the one thing about Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is why I don't use Track IR. Is because the things like this, where you have to use the scroll wheel and keep it on there. I really like... I mean, DCS does it better, where you can click and drag the knob to, like, do that. So, like, in DCS, if I have this, I could click and drag down to turn it all the way down. Much easier to use, especially when you're moving your head around a lot, but... So that's one of the big reasons I don't actually use Track IR, is messing with these knobs and stuff. What was I doing? Zero fuel weight. Load sheet. We got a quoted zero fuel weight of 129.4. 127.9. Okay, sure. Reserves. I think I saw a 6.9 in there. 6.8. We don't really have a good alternate. Our alternate is coming back to Majuro. So it's one of those. And at cost index, we'll just rock a 32. But level 300 is going to be our cruising altitude today. Cruise winds, top of climb is at Oreo. Well, at top of climb, 210.15. And I'll make sure I did download all the winds before I loaded in. So I was a good pilot on that. We'll load those in next time out. No, we're not going to limit takeoff for anything. We got nothing to bother out here. No one to bother out here. CG 24.1, trim 4.7, which is actually pretty close already. Okay, so that's good. All right, so we got an NDB approach. We got some open water, carrier takeoff. We can just go ahead and squawk I like to squawk 2000. Being uncontrolled, but IFR. I don't even know what airspace this falls into. I guess... I mean, it's not... It's still... I guess you're still in Oakland Oceanic airspace, which is kind of crazy. And I don't believe Oakland Oceanic is, in fact, online. We're also across the international date line from them. It's actually a different day here than it is in Oakland. Okay. But not in Zulu time, and that's the beauty of it. What else needs to happen here while I get 737? Do I have all this set up? We do. We got a good warning. Good movement on all that. Okay. So that's all set up. Let's get the winds in real quick. I'm hoping this works. I guess it's not going to be that... Well... It's not going to be that exciting, but... It's just going to tell us the winds at... It's going to give us the winds at Oreo. But that's fine. And it's an hour flight, so that should be fine. I need to practice that for upcoming flying. All right, let me just do a quick sweep of the overhead. Yaw damper needs to come on. We've got IRSs aligned. Put fuel pumps on for the moment. Down here we got Definitely numbers there. We are on ground power still. We do have a good APU start though, so let's start the APU. Go ahead and turn beacon on as well. Seatbelt signs on. We finished fueling. Emergency exit lights armed. Probe heat will come on after we get started up. We're not going to have to push or anything. Hydraulic pumps on. Cruise altitude today, 330,000, flight level 300. In a landing elevation of approximately, should be about 0. It should not be anything. Elevation of 15 feet, so we'll leave that at 0, close enough for the moment. APU bleed can come on. Probably should turn the packs on because it's warm here. True air temperature 29°C. So that's balmy, to say the least. All right, so that's ready to go. Let's get started then. We're not going to push or anything. We got no one around. 122.8 is going to be our frequency because we are on Unicom. But we are in VATSIM, you know, legally. Although we're in the middle of nowhere. Which is a shame because I want to use the call sign because the call sign's fun. 2.8. All right. And we can go ahead and start on stand here. We got, let's get rid of wheel chocks. Release the ground power. Release the stairs already. Getting rid of wheel chocks, we'll put on parking brakes. AP bleed on, packs are off. Fuel pumps are on. Let's give it a try. Oh, my hardware switches were already engaged. So yeah, it's kind of a shame we don't have ATC, but again, in Majuro is actually an uncontrolled airport at 2, I believe. So, not like there's a ton of control anyway. Looking good on engine 1. Oh, little hardware glitch. Get that engine coming to life. Why is that going? All right, starting the right engine. We're starting the left engine now. Right engine started. How's 30 degrees Celsius catch you, Snip? Palm trees I can go for, but I don't need it that hot. I mean, it must be spectacular out here, though. Engine 2 going. We're going to need flaps 5 for departure. We're going to need auto brake to RTO. Oreo, and then we're going to the NDB. So that's good. But that's the beauty of this route. Going to be flying over a lot of water. We'll send that to continuous. It is the 27th, so let's go left today. Bleed off, packs on, probe heat on, gens, and APU to the off position. We don't have any fuel in the center tank, so we're just going off right and left. Although I don't know how much, I'd assume they carry some fuel in. I would assume they're not fully refueling here, actually, at Majuro or Kwajalein. But they might refuel fully here, because you've done 5 hours from Honolulu. Maybe they do pick up fuel every time. I don't know. Taxi light can come on. We're going out. We'll climb, maintain 10,000 on departure. What did my V1 say? My V speed say? We're looking at 147 is what the airplane says. So it'll be on the order of 147. And then we're going to fly runway heading, which is going to be roughly 070. Flight director's on. We'll arm everything else. And I think that is about it. We're squawking. We are on Unicom 122.8. Does, Majuro does have an NDB. If we were really interested in that. Just for fun, because we don't get to tune too many NDBs in stateside ops. 316. Will this do this? No, it won't. I got to use this one down here. See, I don't think I've ever done this. 316. I might have done it. Why do I feel like I did it somewhere? Don't want that. We want it on ADF. 316.0 should be Majuro. Maybe it was on the way into Majuro I did it. No, maybe not only have I done it, but I've done it in this specific circumstance. ADF 1 is what we want. And they'll just tell us our direction to the Majuro NDB. Alright, park and break off. Let's taxi. Majuro traffic, Air Mike 155, we're 737. We're taxiing to runway 7 from the only ramp. We're going to backtrack out onto runway 7, line up for departure, Majuro. You ready for winter to be over, Snip? That's fair. That's fair. You see here, I feel like we didn't get a good winter, so I'm kind of still itching. I feel like it was one of those years where it never quite got cold, which is bad. Not the worst of those years, but and it's not bad, and generally I am a person who likes seasons, even if it's just a week. All right, so the pre-takeoff, let's just do another wipeout real quick, make sure we got everything here. Fuel pump's good, that's good. EP's coming down, probe heat, well, that's good. We will line up in the air, but this would be the flight where you get your umbrella and your drink. We're going to go all the way down, auto brake and RTO, flaps 5. So on departure, we're going to be flying runway heading, which is going to be roughly 070. Then it'll be a right-hand turn direct to the waypoint Oreo, at which point we will go direct to the airport, Kwajalein, and we will basically be looking for the Buckholz NDB on Kwajalein Island. 359 November Delta Juliet, and that's the entire flight plan. We're going to climb maintain 10,000. We'll clear ourselves up to our final cruise of 300. On the takeoff roll, we have a V1 of 135, V rotate of 137, and then V2 of 147. Anything that happens that we don't like below V1, we will reject the takeoff. Flaps up, spoilers out, full reverse thrust, whatever it takes to get us stopped. After V1, we're going flying, we're taking our problems into the air. We got plenty of water in front of us, or we can come back to the field and figure everything out that way. Let's do our little turnaround here. And this is our freeway airport also, by the way, flightsim.to. We have this one and Kwajalein. I'll have to pull up the author. And I can't speak for this one, but Kwajalein was by Mountain Air. And so they're very good for adding a little life to what I'm sure, I haven't seen it default, but what I'm sure default could be a kind of a bear airport. So getting a back taxi too. Also, we're hitting all sorts of obscure bingo cards on this flight. But that's why flying out here is kind of fun. What you lack in, what I would argue that you lack in scenery, and maybe even navigation, because there aren't that many waypoints. You make up for in kind of cool quirks of operating very remotely. All right, we're lined up and ready to go. Majuro traffic, air Mike 155 departing runway 07 out to the west. Majuro. Stabilizing at 40%. Toga. It's not yelling at us, so that's a good start. Pulling back. And here we go. You're coming up. And this is the thing that frustrates me about this airplane and Access knows. When I move my flap lever, because I have the Honeycomb Bravo, so I've got a flap lever. We'll hand fly this part too, because what else am I doing? When I bring my flaps up, it's going to cut my throttles, but only one of them, which is dangerous. So I kind of have to manually throttle. And that's, I don't know why it's somehow, it's with how it's bound, I think the, throttles are, getting a stall warning. The throttles are bound to the, let's level out a little bit here. The throttles are bound, I think because of, it's because of how PMDG does it. Because PMDG's, I think I'm overriding the actual values of the throttle in the PMDG system. That's a little bit better. I wasn't really prepared for this. And let's go up to, clear ourselves up to 300. And a left turn, let's call it... Oh, I don't know, 320. But it's, so whatever it is doing, whatever variable I have it bound to override, it's overriding, I think, whatever the sim is saying the throttle should be set at, and then it messes with the auto throttle and stuff, so it's not my favorite implementation. Speed brake does it too. Yikes. Yeah, and I'm using, it's how, I think it's how I'm binding it in Axe's nose. There might be a better way to do it. Maybe there's a different variable you can use, because you have to pick out the actual sim variables, and I think it's overriding, it's not telling you what the throttle lever, or maybe it is. Maybe it's all in the same thing, but when you mess with the flap or the speed brake, I can do it right now and see how that throttle just jumped. It's because for a second, it overrides the auto throttle and goes back to whatever I have it set at, but only for one of them. So it's suboptimal, but it works. I basically have to manually thrust sometimes. Oreo, direct. Now we can put our feet up a little bit now. All right. So we're in the air. Mike 155 on the way. Should be about an hour and change flight. But yeah, that's where we took off from. And it should be the last land we see. There's actually a few other islands that'll we'll be passing to our south out this left window. But not many. The runway's right out there. So it is crazy, but United Airlines does fly out here to Majuro with 737-800s, and they have to rotate them. They have to rotate the 737s, which ones they want out here, out to Guam, which is one of the bases for United. They have to rotate the 737s out to Guam occasionally because obviously these airplanes, whatever airplanes are serving on this route in this area, get a lot of corrosion. They get a lot of extra wear just from being in a very humid, salty environment. That is atypical for the rest of the fleet. Okay, we're up. Flaps are up. Auto brake is back off. We can live dangerously. Turn off fasten seatbelt sign. Everything else is good, cabin. No warnings. We're on our way. So anyway, a little exciting on the departure, but we made it. Chris, you are in business class. You're there. You've been in business class all the way from Hawaii. Yeah, I've logged the flight snap. Mopo, dude, I haven't dug with the controls because I haven't messed with it. It's always something that I deal with here at this point in the flight, and then by the time I've landed, I've forgotten about it. I don't know if there's a good way to do it or not. I'm just using the regular throttle axis, actually. This is gonna be living dangerously. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna do it. So maybe I'm actually just using the regular Microsoft Flight Simulator throttle control, and that's throwing stuff off. I don't know. I'll mess with it later. Yes, so that's where you come down on the Continental United divide. I know it's a contentious relationship still. I might have flown, I don't know if I would have ever flown Continental. I certainly was younger when that was around. Yeah, I'm not going to mess with it now. I'm not going to crash. It's a bad idea. A bad idea. We'll just log it for the next crew and they'll figure it out in Guam. So, but yeah, I have no first-hand experience with Continental. Well, not that I know of. But I figured we had to break it out, because I got to use the Air Mike call sign. I can't just be United 155. Speaking of which, kind of. Well, we're still over land. Say goodbye to land for a while, because that's where we're going. Just nothing out there. So anyway, I did get a slot for Cross the Pond today. It was slim pickings, although I think there's actually some slots still open. So basically, still the South America. Well, last time I checked, the South America slots were still available, and it looks like they are. So like I missed the boat on Across the Pond this year, and I was kind of ambivalent. Kind of ambivalent. I did it in November, or whenever the last one was. I think it was November, right? And we did Amsterdam to Dulles to Amsterdam. I didn't really get any good footage out of it because, yeah, on the ground at Dulles it was just crazy, and I had horrible performance. I had such bad performance that I couldn't actually push back from the gate. Or it scrubbed two pushback tools. Like GSX wouldn't work and the PMDG one wouldn't work because I was getting such bad lag. So it wasn't, and then it was sitting in traffic for 45 minutes. So I was kind of ambivalent about the whole thing because I did it. But I did book a slot today from the scraps, from the scrap heap, from what was left. And I got Istanbul to Chicago, and I can't decide if that would be great or miserable, because that's a 12-hour flight. Istanbul to Chicago is a 12-hour flight with arriving into O'Hare at the tail end. So so we would fly, and it's so I got a slot at like 11:30 on Saturday morning Zulu time, which is going to end up as like 5. It's going to be like 6:30 departure my time. So it'll be at like a 5:30 call time to be like ready and to go, depending on what they say. And then you might get your wheels down if, with no delays, your wheels might hit pavement in Chicago at 5:30 p.m. And I can't decide if that sounds epic or miserable, but it's across the pond westbound now. So we're going from Europe or Africa to the Americas. So it's going to be slow no matter what you do. It's going to be a lot of flying no matter what you do. I would think I'm going to stick with the 737 BBJ. I have a Pan Am BBJ. There's also United BBJ livery, but I'm going to rock the BBJ just because I don't know the A310 that well enough to fly it for 12 hours into Chicago. So I'll probably stick with the BBJ, which is kind of boring, but good. We could divert to Midway. Well, that's, yeah, maybe that's what you have to do. Divert to something like Pittsburgh. But that doesn't really help you. You really need to divert to somewhere in northern Canada. But so basically, it's a marathon of a flight, though, because you're departing Istanbul at 5:30 a.m. You're in your chair at 5:30 a.m. You might get out of there at 6:30 if you're lucky. You're probably going to spend all morning over Europe. So you basically have to fly entirely over Central Europe. Entirely over the UK. So you're probably flying for, what's that, 3-4 hours? Over all of Europe until you get to the Nat tracks. And once you're over the North Atlantic, you can take your headphones off and go, well, I guess Europe does CPDLC too, which I haven't messed with at all. But, so you're not probably hitting the North Atlantic until lunchtime. And then you're basically North Atlantic all the way into, through northern Canada, but... So I'm conflicted. My other thought is maybe I should pick up one of the South America routes that would be quicker. So, like, they've got one from Lagos, Nigeria. Not a lot of people have picked that one up. But there's a couple of them to Sao Paulo. That's only 10 hours. But then you're like, well, that's still 10 hours. Starting early in the morning. So I haven't officially decided, but I feel like if I do it, I have to stream it. And that might just melt everything. So I have no idea how anything is going to go after a 12-hour flight from Turkey. But, so stay tuned. We'll see. I hope to have a decision in the next day or so, because I don't want to hold on to the slot too if people want to use it. I'd rather someone use it if I don't want to, but right now I'm leaning towards giving it a shot and trying to get from Istanbul to Chicago, but it's a marathon. Definitely a marathon. And I don't know what you do. Istanbul to Dublin's 4.5 hours. Yeah, so you're probably getting Scotland at hour 5 or so, and that's when you're planning your Atlantic entry. I was really optimistic. If I had been paying attention, I would have wanted Dublin or something, but because some people have Dublin to Boston, which is probably about as good as you can get. But yeah, so it's 4.5 hours to get there, and then you're into the Atlantic. But, you know, you don't get that many. I mean, it's twice a year thing, so it's also like... It's a twice a year thing where you're going to the U.S. I felt like last time... I feel in November... It was a tough one just because you ended up... Basically, we came over France, and I got to experience French ATC, which was fun, after 8 hours of flying. And then you get into Amsterdam, and you shoot your approach into Schiphol, and it takes forever to taxi in and all that stuff. So maybe going the back way is better. I don't know. But if you could do it, it'd be epic. This would be a perfect 777 flight, too. So you could get your Turkish Airways. I mean, that's really a 730. That's 777 route in real life. And I'm keeping my eye on the slots. But so, like, if the South America route was really shorter, I would probably go for that. Or, like, Cape Town to Argentina or something. But it's not that much shorter. It's like 11.5 hours instead of 12. Just because you're going westbound, so. So we will see. I don't know how I could keep myself entertained for 12 hours, but it might be a fun challenge. Snip, you flew out of Lagos as a kid. Wow. Kind of crazy. Crazy by Western standards in the mid 80s, yeah. Well, I bet. I mean, I bet it's crazy. I was looking at airports. There's a freeware airport available for it. It might be fun. I also kind of want to see the pilot briefing because it would be a fun one. It would be a fun one to do, and you don't get to fly there that often. I mean, so I'm thinking, I'm thinking about it. I just, yeah. But that's the other thing too with those is that there's just not that much. I mean, if you do that, if you fly the South America route, you lose some of the Nat Track stuff, which gives you something to do. I don't know if I'd assume they do SoCal 2 on those routes along the South or in the South Atlantic. I don't know how that works. But you're not doing like the Nat Track system and oceanic clearances and everything there. So you lose a layer of complexity, but after flying all the way across Europe, I don't know that we'll be looking for complexity. And I mean, there's still South America slots available if you haven't booked. And you're interested. I mean, there are a few combinations of Madrid and the South America locations and Lagos and a couple. There's actually a lot still available. You can at least get later, but then you're stuck there. So I'm hoping they post the pilot briefing soon, and I want to review that and then kind of get after it. That was on Sabena, 747-200. Oh, wow. Yeah. See, that would be good if we had a classic 747 then. Would be good. That's a cool airport to have flown out of. I had no idea. I guess I don't know where that route would take. They might be strategic in what ATC sectors are staffed. But basically, I mean, the South America destinations, there's one in Colombia. You can go to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and I think Buenos Aires in Argentina. That's what's available. I don't know what all there was. I think there was a Caribbean destination too. So maybe that would be a little, I don't know, more palatable. But hey, you're long hauling. You're long hauling no matter what you're doing. That's kind of the fun. Let's do that. Like that's shown pretty well too. Okay. They used to have paper maps in various places in the cabin, and they would draw where you were in the flight. Oh yeah, that would be. That's cool, man. Old school. The old school infotainment. Wow, what a world. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that they. I mean, it's crazy that, but it's crazy that they also navigated like that. Crossing the Atlantic, C-47s and stuff. A more manual age. I mean, we need a good classic 747. That would be fun. Back to our flight, nothing but water here. See, this is the part of the flight where it's, I mean, are we at cruising? I assume we're at cruising altitude. 299 or 2 is standard pressure. Although I think we should be in I get fuzzy on if we should be in hectopascals here or not. Let's see what the ATIS says. I think these guys are in Americas. Yes, 29083 was the METO, was the altimeter at Majuro, and Buchholz is going to be in Americas, 29085 in Kwajalein, on Kwajalein, I guess. A little land. Oh, did I hit my... We also hit a route discontinuity. So while I'm talking about flying across the ocean, I'm not actually flying across the ocean. So let's fix that, and we're going to go to this waypoint here. I don't know if that's... It should just be going to... So we should be going to the Buchholz NDB, which is going to be on frequency 359. Should go up. 359er. And we will point ourselves at that. And then that's... Oh, I got the NDB for 2.4 up. I want the NDB for 6. So basically, here is our approach, or into Kwajalein. We're looking for runway 6. We're basically going to come to the Buchholz NDB, November Delta Juliet there. We'll fly over it out and then do our little turnaround to a final height approach course of 056. And then we will come into land 1,500, at or above 1,500, 10 miles from the NDB. We're getting our top of descent marker now. I'm inclined to believe it. Although I don't know how much I should. I am on 20, yeah, I'm not too crazy. To do that. So thank you all for coming along and joining us. We are getting ready to start our descent into Kwajalein. We departed Majuro about oh, I don't know, 30 minutes ago, 35 minutes ago. Spent some time talking about crossing the Atlantic. There's some land if you need land. Spent some time talking about crossing the Atlantic, across the pond this weekend, while we failed to navigate effectively across the Pacific. But we're back on track. We're coming into land. We are on VATSIM nominally. I don't believe there's any control at the moment. We are Air Mike 155, Charlie Mike India, Continental Micronesia aircraft. Flying into Buchholz Army Airfield in the Kwajalein Atoll. We're going to start a descent here in a minute. We've got a final altitude of 1,500 feet. We're going to be at or above 1,500. I'm going to just say 3,000 until we get down and figure it out. Of course, if anyone was controlling us, they may or may not have other instructions for us. Oh, and you got to go on the flight deck too, Snap? That's pretty cool, yeah. It was a different age. A different time, certainly. SML Tech, welcome aboard. We are in the PMDG, PMDG 737-800, flying some Continental Air Micronesia ops. Getting a little classic globe going. Flying over the water here from the island of Majuro to Kwajalein, part of what is now United, but was Continental Micronesia's island hopper route, basically flying service with multiple stops from Honolulu out to Guam in the Marianas. That's about a full day of flying, 9-10 hours. It's about 5 hours from Honolulu to Majuro. And then the rest of the way is probably 5 hours of small stops at small islands. Kwajalein is up next. Then we get Pohnpei, Chuck, I think, and then you get on to Guam. But thank you for coming along. Great to see y'all. Hope y'all are doing well. Flying fun places, doing fun things. We started our long descent. We are doing the NDB approach into Buckholtz Army Airfield. Should be good fun. NDB's on 359er. There is also an RNAV approach if you need it, but we're just enjoying the ride. Yeah, that's about where my top of descent is. Out here in the Marshall Islands, we see Sim Toolkit Pro. Gives us a good idea where we are. There's a little bit of precipitation. Sim Toolkit Pro is seeing around us, but we're kind of on our own. I think Kwajalein going to be here. Just a runway on an island in the atoll. This is a good relaxing flight. It's a little like flying in Alaska. Not a ton going on. Are we still in Oakland Oceanic? I think we are. We do have some clouds. We'll have to keep an eye on the weather. Our minimum's at, for the NDB, approach for runway 6, 500 feet. We shouldn't, according to the METAR or the TAF, be in too much danger there. They're reporting a pretty strong wind, 070 at 16 knots. 10 source amount of visibility, scattered clouds 5,500. Temperature 29 degrees Celsius. A balmy 29, altimeter 2985. You think? It is our, well, if we have to go back to Majuro, we gotta go back to Majuro. It's windy, definitely windy. That the TAF's doing it. And my understanding is that it's kind of like Florida, where the weather blows in real low and then blows out. They're saying it's probably going to come down. Gusts in 23 knots. It's kind of nasty. Cloud layer might lower a little bit. 2,400 feet. That's 1,800 Zulu, which is current. I don't think that makes sense, because it's 20 something. All right. So we're doing all right so far. Coming down here, Air Mike 155 and our PMDG 737-800. We'll have to do these in DC-6 too. completely didn't realize that they kind of originated this route. We'll see when we can see land too. That'll be interesting. Oh, don't click on that. Thankfully, we're not just going off the NDB, although that would be quite the challenge. Yeah, I can't imagine manually navigating, even with just an NDB. That would be lots of room for error. Thank you all for coming along tonight. Hope you are flying fun places, or flying vicariously through us. Let's see, what is my computadora saying? 0015, so in about 10 minutes we'll be kind of thinking about the approach. Do they have a different transition altitude here? Do they list it? Transition altitude here can be flight level 5, so we're on weird flight levels, so that's good. Majuro, I think, is like, I feel like Majuro is like 20,000. So we do have a different transition altitude, so we're going to leave it in standard until we get down to 5,500 feet. Or, excuse me, flight level 550, not 550, 055. I had to practice that. That's what trips me up in Europe, is always the low flight levels. I don't have flight level 055 in my vocabulary. It's the same thing. It just doesn't work with my brain for whatever reason. Flight level 055. It's just doesn't sound right. There's part of me, just my monkey brain keeps thinking it's 55,000 feet. The altimeter's in inches. We have an altimeter. We should be good. The good news is there's no real terrain to hit. So if we do have to go around or do anything, we should have plenty of room to work. We have plenty of fuel. We've boarded enough fuel to go back to Majuro if we have to. Missed approach is going to be climbing right turn, 1,500 feet, and then we're just in the hold. So we're going to stay in the hold at Buckholz. NDB. Climbing on out. Mopar dude's currently halfway to Denver from O'Hare in the 900 ER. That's a good flight. Oh, you got some storms there, huh? I guess you're past most of that. More to the south is the heavy precip. How long a flight is that? 2 hours? 2.5? It's a good CRJ flight. We do our preps. We'll run an auto brake at 2. We'll feel kind of dangerous. We're descending through 11,000 now. Other than that, we're going to set a course. We're going to set the initial course to 236 because we're going to fly the NDB. We're going to fly 236 outbound from that NDB. And I will say, this is kind of uncharted territory. Believe it or not, I haven't messed with a ton of NDBs with 737. And you don't really, I mean, you don't really get to stateside that much. There are some places. It's 236. We're in ADF mode. I'm not quite sure where these points are taking us, though. But you can see it coming up now. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's go to plan. I see. So it's basically going to take us here, which I guess. Then it's going to turn us around, and it's a slightly offset approach, so we'll have to keep that in mind. Speed's coming down 250. And it should be just right out here. This little piece of land. What we're looking for. Oh yeah, big headwind. Making just 389 ground speed. Good gear. Oh, I gotta do my perf in it. We'll take flaps 30. 145 is gonna be our ref speed. Again, flight level 055 is our transition altitude. So if I were to get a call from a controller, I would say I'm descending flight level. See, and here's where I want to say flight level 900, which is just not great. We're descending through flight level 090 for 030. Well, not for 030, for 3000. It just shakes me all up. It shouldn't. It's not a big deal, but it does. Like I was just very surprised when that was the thing that really threw me in Amsterdam the one time I flew European. Just my mouth isn't used to forming those words. Gonna get flight recorder up too, just so we're ready. Just because I'm curious. Since we're going to be on the ground about 10 minutes. I'll buy that. Altimeter, what did I say it was? It was 3 or 2986? 2985 was close. 2985 in Americans. We should be okay with cloud cover. It's not too low yet. And I'm not sure I believe the PMDG route. That's not what I'm reading in the procedure, but we'll let it do its thing. We're going to loop around and then come down. Final approach course can be 056. For what that's worth. We need drag. We're okay. We're doing all right. We'll go ahead and descend to 2,000 feet, though. We're on our way in. Here comes flight level 055. There it is. We see our blue line turn around. Doesn't like that. I will confess to not really knowing how you use the ADF in here. I'm sure there's some more advanced techniques, but can we get a view of the island? There it is. Here comes Kwajalein. Oh, that's gonna be a good screenshot. Oh, keep it. Hold the turn. All right, now we kind of got to focus. Let's. It's gonna do its little loopy loop, and we're gonna descend down to. We're at 210 knots. I'm just gonna take control of all this stuff. 210 knots. There's no one else out here. See, and then it just threw a bunch of stuff out at me. But so we saw the glitch there again when I pulled speed brake. It disengaged my auto throttle, which is okay. Whatever. I just kind of have to. But then if I move it manually, it does move the actual throttles. Drag required, that's fine. We're going down to... We really got to get down now, though. We can use a little bit of flaps to coax it in. Flaps 5, below 200, we'll go flaps 15. We can get gear out, too, if we need to lose some speed. Go to 180 nets now. And we will go with, technically, Buckholz. Buckholz traffic. Air Mike 155, Boeing 737. We are lining up for the NDB approach for runway 6, Buckholz. We gotta lose some altitude here, but that's alright. Down at 1,500 feet until... about 4.5 miles out. We should be good, though. And I think we'll just fly the whole approach visually and manually if we can get a good view. A little bit of cloud there, though. I mean, that cloud layer could be trouble for that plan. We can still fly the NDB approach down to 500 feet. We'll go down 1,500 feet. 180 knots. We can go flaps 15. And then on the rollout, we'll go gear. Flight recorder is started. It's going to yell at me. That's okay. And we should end up on a slightly offset approach. So we can see the runway. We're visual to the field. We don't really need to descend that last bit. We're a little lower and slower than I'd like to be, frankly. Speed brake coming in. It's going to mess with auto throttle. I'm just going to take control of the throttles at this point. 1,500 here until this waypoint here. which I believe is marking 6 miles from Buckholtz. So far, weather is working in our favor here, coming into Kwajalein. We're on track hitting 356 or 056. Then runway heading is going to be, in case you're interested, final heading is 064, so it'll be kind of a little right-hand turn. To pick that all the way up. Our speed's looking good, we're 160 knots. I don't have a DME, but we do have our GPS waypoints. So we can call them out. Buckholtz traffic air Mike 155, 5 mile final land runway 6, Buckholtz. Spoilers are in. Bring speed back the rest of the way. We're here, we're ready to go. Let's take control. Start our descent. Flaps 30. We're visual to the runway. If I can pick out the right piece of pavement, we will be all right. I'm gonna just turn off flight director since it's not useful. Not giving good indication. Need to descend a little bit more. We're still up right about 1,400 feet. So we're a little high. Just catch up a little bit. Again, minimum's about 500 feet. And then if we do have to go around, we're just going to climb in the hold around the NDB at Buckholtz. Let's just get a little bit more. Do a sterile cockpit kind of thing. Lineup's looking pretty good. A little slow. I would argue not descending enough. Flaps are flaps 40, though. That's a little too much.
500. 400.
Big thing is here, we don't have endless runway, 6,600 feet, so we just want to kind of plant it.
200.
I'm basically just going to aim for the touchdown.
50. 30. 20. 10.
And a little flare. Speed brakes in, flaps up. Turn on our APU here while we're rolling out. And we will come off here at Delta, up here by the helicopters. This is actually pretty good scenery for just a military base. I obviously haven't been to Kwajalein, but it does feel like you're flying into kind of this. They did a good job, I think, with all the other equipment around. We're going to taxi over. I don't actually know where they go. Terminal control tower, I think, is straight ahead. I think they'd go over here to turn. You obviously, you've got the CH-46s. You've got the, I don't know what those would be. You got your MV-22s. Oh no, those are 47s. Those are Chinooks. which makes sense. It's an Army airfield. We're going to taxi up by the buses over here. So welcome everybody to Kwajalein, Buckholz Army Air Base. Now, in real life, our civilian passengers going on to points further, Guam, and other places, would stay put while the military folks disembarked. But I'll let everyone run around this time. Yes, do not enter sign. Alright, so let's put this on. Let's go watch the landing replay. And then we'll get stairs hooked up. So here we got a little slow, you can see, but not too bad. Now, I didn't really flare enough at the end either, but we did achieve our goal of getting down. Let me just turn off the flight. And here we plan it. Firm, we'll call it. But we made it. So we might have to bust out the DC-6 on this little route too. Next, I believe, is Pohnpei. And then on to some other ones, and then Guam. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. But a good fun flight. Lots of good things coming up. I will keep y'all posted on cross-pond events if we plan on doing anything. If I get up the courage to go from Istanbul to Chicago. We'll see. But thank you all for coming along. It means the world to me. Appreciate it. And yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. week, fly fun places, do fun things. I'm going to play us out with a little wing view replay. But yeah, it's always a pleasure, and thanks for coming along.